Get started. Welcome to Online Mentoring for Youth. Your presenter today is Lisa Anderson, along with her Dana Van Huysen.
Thank you. Did anybody attend the conference about 3 years ago in Traverse City, Grand Traverse Resort? Okay, this may be a little dull for you a little bit because our online mentoring program that we experimented with it took place on Beaver Island, where we run an alternative school. So the first part of this presentation is I would like to show you a little video to get you familiar with Beaver Island. So if you were in my presentation on Youth Build in Beaver Island 3 years ago, it may look a little familiar, although this is the short version. So I will introduce you to Beaver Island. I don't want to. My God. Second one. Yeah. Yeah. It's not my deal.
Beaver Island sits in northern Lake Michigan, about 20 miles off the coast of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. At 13 miles long and 6 miles wide, it's the largest island in Lake Michigan. Nestled on the shore at the south end of the island is the Beaver Lighthouse, home of the Beaver Island Lighthouse School. Most trips to Beaver Island begin about 30 miles to the southeast in the town of Charlevoix in the northwestern part of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. That's where you'll find the 2 airlines and the ferry service that provide transportation to the island. Welcome aboard the Emerald Island. The Beaver Island Boat Company carries passengers, cars, and freight to the island. The trip takes about 2 hours, and the boat runs in almost any kind of weather. Ferry service is available from about mid-April to late December. They don't run during the winter because of ice. At the Charlevoix Airport, you'll find Island Airways and Fresh Air Aviation. Both provide daily flights to Beaver Island year-round. Beaver Island is home to about 550 year-round residents, but that population swells to 5,000 or 6,000 at the peak of the summer tourist season. It's the most remote inhabited island on the Great Lakes, but you wouldn't know that when you're driving around town. When you do, you'll see Beaver Island has a school, a post office, a health center, and a sheriff's office. There's also a gas station, hotels, restaurants, gift shops, and a golf course. 3 underwater cables to the mainland provide electricity, and large generators on the island provide backup power. There are also phones and high-speed internet available on pretty much the entire island. While much of the activity on Beaver Island is centered around town, the Lighthouse School is at the other end of the island, so getting there means a 15-mile drive that takes about half an hour or maybe a little longer in the winter. Since the school has a lighthouse or a landmark, it's pretty easy to find. The Beaverhead Light sits on a bluff overlooking Lake Michigan. It was built in the 1850s and over the years was renovated and added onto. The light was decommissioned in 1962 and replaced by a radio beacon. The Coast Guard deeded the site over to Charlevoix Public Schools in 1975 for $1. The lighthouse and its view attract plenty of attention from visitors to the Lighthouse School, but most of the activity involving students takes place at the adjacent lower campus. While the lighthouse looks a lot like it did 150 years ago, most of the buildings at the lower campus are relatively new. Work started here in the late 1970s when students helped build tent platforms so they had a place to live in the summer. Those platforms are still in use. Students also helped build the 3 cabins that provide the year-round housing at the school. Other projects have included the renovation of an old building that is now the kitchen and dining hall, and the construction of a pole building that became the Academic Center, or AC. Just like the name implies, that's where you'll find one of the Lighthouse School's classrooms and the computer lab.
This is our computer lab here at the Beaver Island Lighthouse School. This is 10 out of our 15 computers that we have. We do have a very active computer use here on the island. We have a computers class where they do everything from PowerPoints with animated GIFs and different types of pictures in them to websites, which they could use, and it could be practical if they were to be their own small business owner. But also, we have a publications class that uses these computers to create a Microsoft Publisher newsletter every session and to create our yearbook on. So we are very much using this technology, and it's greatly appreciated here on this campus.
Along with the computer lab and classroom, the academic center also houses a rec room, staff offices, a laundry room, and 2 female bathrooms. The wood-fired boiler that provides heat for the entire lower campus is there too, along with a large firewood storage area. Students help cut, split, and stack the wood every summer. They also stoke the boiler during the winter. The dining hall and kitchen are in another building on the lower campus. Students take turns in the kitchen, helping the school's chef with meal preparation and cleanup. They also take culinary classes. Between the dining hall and the AC are the 3 cabins students and staff call home while they're on the island.
Welcome to Manitou. This is 1 out of 2 boy cabins we have here on campus. This is over here is where we play video games and card games and whatever else when we like to hang out. We got a PS3 and a TV. Some nights we like to watch movies. Here we got some bunks where people sleep. All bunks are filled in here. And then right in there is the cabin counselor's room. We have 2 staff members who sleep in there. We're not allowed to go in there right now. There's no one in here. And then over here we have my bed, and then other students' beds and our dressers and everything. And then over here we have our shoe rack and all of our backpack holders and stuff, and a board to write on. And then this way is our bathroom. In here we have 2 showers, 2 stalls. We have our own washer and dryer, 2 sinks of our own.
Welcome to the German cabin. We have 6 of us female. This is the female cabin. We have 6 of us, 3 in each room, with a staff member upstairs in the loft. In this room, 3 of us stay in this room. They got the TV, their comfy chair, just relaxing, do their homework. This is my room. In our room, we love to cook our popcorn. We got our microwave, cook popcorn about every night. We just sit around, talk, got a tub of food, our comfortable chair. We don't have a bathroom in here, so we take our showers out across into the AC. We got 2 bathrooms over there. 4 of us can take a shower at a time. There's 4 stalls, 3 bathroom stalls, and 4 sinks. We all try sharing, keeping each other company over there.
Along with the cabins, dining hall, and AC, the lower campus also includes the historic fog signal building right on the shore of Lake Michigan. It's been completely renovated and is now used as a classroom.
So right now we are, as far as I know, one of the select schools that are fortunate enough to have a science classroom down on the shores of Lake Michigan. What we have is a natural classroom that surrounds this building, and then we have inside, we have our desk and equipment that we can use to facilitate that. So this is a very advantageous location for science and biology and that type of instruction.
Students at the Beaver Island Lighthouse School spend a lot of time in and around the buildings at the lower campus. They start the day at 8 a.m. with breakfast and then go to their 2 morning classes. After lunch, they have another class, followed by 45 minutes of physical activity time and 2 more class periods before dinner at 6. Students get a short break after dinner, then it's on to night English or study hall. They're back in their cabins by 9:30 and get about an hour to unwind before going to bed. But the Beaver Island Lighthouse School is more than just a place where students live and go to class. They're also involved in a variety of other activities. Besides helping with things like cooking, cleanup, and firewood, the students also have daily physical activity time. There's also a regular schedule of outside speakers and other activities. In addition to all that, there's a student leadership council where the students work with the staff council on school policies and procedures. All of the extra activities help the students learn about healthy living, self-improvement, communication, community, and responsibility. By spending so much time together, students develop close relationships with each other and the staff.
It really becomes a strong community, a strong family, and the trust that builds between the students and the staff is really, I think, what allows it to be so far different.
When you're here, it becomes family, you become at home. You're only here for 60 days, but it feels like you've spent forever with everybody here. And it becomes to feel like family, and you're comfortable here, and everybody helps everybody.
We are responsible for not only providing instruction in the classroom, but we act as cabin counselors as well. So that gives us a different role in the lives of students, one that most teachers are never able to have. And because of that, we're able to create a bond with the students that most teachers also never have an opportunity to make.
It's not a school to me anymore. It's community, and then when we go inside the cabins, it's family atmosphere. All my cabin members are like brothers to me. I seriously would do anything for those guys.
While their time on campus gives students a chance to build relationships, Beaver Island's remoteness and beauty also helps them learn about themselves.
The beautiful part about this to me is that as the students start spinning off, as they get angry, as they get frustrated, and we can pull them out of class, we can put them in a beautiful setting. Nature is very calming, and it's very easy to sit down with the student outside, listening to the birds, watching the water, and help calm them in that environment. Makes it much better.
When you visit the Beaver Island Lighthouse School, you get to see all the elements that come together to make it a truly special place. But there's one more stop you need to make before the tour is complete. And to do that, you need to go back to the mainland. Every semester ends with a trip back to Charlevoix for a completion graduation ceremony. It's held on the mainland so the students' family and friends can attend. The graduates get their diplomas, and the other students receive certificates of completion. It's a time of celebration and also an opportunity for the students to reflect on what the Beaver Island Lighthouse School means to each of them.
We're like one huge big family, and I've never had so many people who are so supportive of what I do, and it's just really nice.
It's meant a lot to me. Great friends, great place, great staff, great everything. I'm just going to miss it a lot. I've been here for 5 semesters, and I would tell all your kids to come here. Like, it has impacted my life so much.
The school really just built more of like a family trust bond. I mean, I didn't think that it was going to be like this. It's just great.
What that school's done for me is what no one could ever have done for me. I will love that school forever and never forget it.
The Beaverhead Lighthouse helped keep ships on course for over 100 years. Now it stands as the symbol of the Beaver Island Lighthouse School, a school that guides young people in the right direction and helps them chart a course for the rest of their lives.
Okay, and flip sides for me. That was a better visual to explain to you what we do on Beaver Island than just for me to tell you. It is a residential alternative school. We take both males and females between the ages of 16 and 19 from our 10-county Northwest Michigan area. The reason we decided to experiment with an online mentoring program, as you can see from the video, we're pretty remote out there. And so your interactions are limited, which is a good thing. You get, the students get really close to the staff, and the staff get really close to the students. but it's also a little bit limiting. And if we have a student that's out there for both our fall and spring semester, just like, you know, living in a remote area with a close family, you can get a little sick of people. And we wanted to give them a broader experience of well-rounded adults that would help them maybe with some issues that they were hesitant to bring to the staff, or just like I said, to give them some other options of people to talk to and sort of broaden their horizons. So we've got a little small PowerPoint here. How this came to be was we have a wonderful couple from the Chicago area that discovered Beaver Island by accident. They were sailing their sailboat around and there was a storm. So they pulled into Beaver Island, into the harbor, and then decided, okay, well, we're here, we might as well do a little sightseeing. So they were running around the island, and they happened to come upon our campus, and we're walking around during the summer, and we're talking, in the summertime we run a work program, which this year, because of funding cuts, it was greatly reduced. Usually I have about 20 kids out there bringing in the wood to heat the campus, doing a couple of construction, beautification, upgrade projects, all the landscaping kinds of things. This year I had 5 young men and 1 staff member was all I could afford to pay, and they brought in that 250 cords of wood that will heat the school. Yeah, we luckily had an awesome group out there. But anyway, our scholarship benefactors, a couple of people, like I said, from the Chicago area, they actually were they had just gotten married, and were looking for something to sort of be a legacy to, and they fell in love with our school. So they came up with a scholarship, which we call the 10-10-10 scholarship, in honor of the day that they got married on. And so instead of asking for wedding presents and anniversary presents every subsequent year, they asked all their rather wealthy friends in the Chicago area to donate to the 10-10-10 scholarship. And we award one of those scholarships every semester to a Beaver Island graduate, and then they can use it for post-secondary education. They are so into what we do, then they approached me the following year and said, you know, we have a lot of people that would really like to mentor a student. And of course, it's not feasible for everybody to just jump out to Beaver Island all the time, so especially in the winter. And so we tossed things around, and we came up with this online mentoring idea. The same Chicago couple had a friend that was a professor at the University of Chicago who happened to be teaching a class, a graduate class, on mentoring. And so what ended up happening is, to sort of streamline the whole thing, we partnered with the University of Chicago and their graduate students. We decided that just for matchability, that these young adults would probably be a better match for our students than some of the other people that we had originally thought about, and it was easier because the class was a captive audience too. It was part of their assignment. They were getting credit for it, so they would do it. Okay. So the recruitment of mentors, that came to us kind of easy after we made that partnership with the University of Chicago. If you were doing this yourself, it would be a little more difficult. I actually used to run a mentor program in Traverse City through a different agency I work with, and there's a lot of legalities about screening possible mentors. In this case, it wasn't, like I said, that difficult because they were a captive audience all in a class, so getting them to sign agreements and do a minimal background check and that kind of thing was pretty easy to do. You know, anytime that you're matching up the regular population with a vulnerable population, and students are considered a vulnerable population, yes, you should do a background check. All right, there's many easy and free ways to do that. You could access what you use for your employees, because you're probably doing already for new hires. The training of mentors pretty much took place all in We would do a conference call when the class was in session. I think I did like 3 training sessions just to tell them about Beaver Island, tell them what our students were like, what the makeup was. The class of students, of graduate students, then they had questions and I answered the questions, talked about possible scenarios that might come up, talked about what to do if you thought you ran into trouble. You know, a student brings you some kind of a situation that is a little out of your league, you know, maybe something that has to do with some decision making. It's real important in the beginning to sort of outline your parameters and your boundaries of, okay, this is what we're looking for mentorship for. So in this program, experiment, we were pretty much looking at having the mentors encourage them in their education. So, okay, I'm homesick, I'm lonely out on Beaver Island, my roommate's driving me crazy. You know, a lot of the stuff that maybe a freshman college student would kind of deal with, to put it in perspective. You know, the work is harder than what I thought, you know, so we were looking for encouragement in education. You know, some minor maybe relationship issues, but we weren't looking for our mentors to play psychologists to our students. Okay, that's more the staff's job, and sometimes it's even beyond that. This was a voluntary thing for our students. They were briefed on it when they first got the island that we were going to do this. We have a class, and I think it was in the video, that's called Personal Living, and it is pretty much life skills. And they were told that they could do this as part of their personal living class, and so they would get extra credit for that class by agreeing to do this. And we had very few who didn't want to do it. Most of them decided to go ahead and do it. Yes?
I have a question on your recruitment and then the
Sure.
training. Did you set like a timeline, if you will, of how that recruitment should occur?
Yeah,
So
well, and that
start
was,
with the date.
yeah, we were really kind of flying blind a little bit here when we set this up. Our Michigan Works agency has a adult learning component, our learning labs, who had done sort of an online mentoring program for people that were going from adult education into post-secondary. And our adult education instructor was lovely. She had a lot of materials and had done a lot of work previous because she had done some experimenting with this. So yes, we put a timeline on how long it was going to take us to recruit and screen mentors. And then we actually put a timeline on how long the mentor process was going to last. There was a formal time, and then by mutual agreement of both parties, if they wanted to continue that later and keep in touch with their mentor, that was completely up to them. Let's see here, we talked about that. Each of the University of Chicago's class filled out a mentor questionnaire that I developed. What I was looking for, and actually our Beaver Island students filled out one too. What we were looking for was the common ground sort of things so that we didn't match up to inappropriate people. What happened was, so it's a real easy getting to know you questionnaire. What do you like most about school? What do you like least about school? What is your favorite class? You know, when you have leisure time, what do you like to do? Kept it pretty neutral. You know, who's your favorite movie star? If you won the lottery, what would you do? Just, you know, some very kind of generic questions. Both their getting to know you questionnaire and the mentor questionnaire, I actually let the teacher and the graduate students make the match. All right, so the students' questionnaires were faxed to the University of Chicago, and then as part of their class process in doing this match process, they were the ones that picked the matches. And there were a lot of things that went into that. You know, we were trying to foster some diversity. When I did the mentor training, that's the thing. We get a few Native American kids typically, not too many African Americans. Most of the kids that we get are from very rural, low income, for the most part, areas. They haven't traveled. Their diversity is nil I mean, are pretty much limited, okay? And we wanted to expose them to some different cultural backgrounds, and but we wanted to do it in a way that was positive, and so that's why we kind of left it up to the University of Chicago students to make that decision, because they were a very diverse group, both ethnically, religiously, everything, which was actually very good for our students because it exposed them to a whole a different culture base. So the program specifics were 1 hour online per week, and this was, like I said, our students received credit and University of Chicago students received credit. Both mentor and mentee sign an agreement and confidentiality statement. It wasn't a huge mess, but basically it was, I reworked our standard confidentiality statement so that it was specific to this program. Youth created a Gmail account to use for the mentoring experience. The beauty about this, and I would highly recommend this rather than using an existing email account or Facebook, you know, is just that once, if the mentor experience didn't gel, you know, they really, you know, it kind of fell flat, then that Gmail account can just kind of go away and they don't have to use it for much of anything else. And it's free and it's easy to do. The mentor gave the Gmail account address to make, the mentor was given the Gmail account address to make initial contact. So once the match was made, the Gmail account is set up, the mentor is given their person's name and the Gmail account, and then the mentor is the one that made the initial contact, all right? So we had, you know, certain expectations of our mentors, and this was part of the training that we did with them, was that they were to provide student with a caring, supportive adult who is a good listener, model and encourage good life skills to students, provide encouragement and support in determining and setting personal goals, academic, career, emotional, physical, and financial. Okay, so you know, you want successful, well-rounded people to be mentors, you know? Or you want people that have maybe had earlier difficulties and have overcome them. Actually, I find that that makes the best kind of mentor for our young people, because if you have somebody who's sort of lived a charmed life, they can't relate to it. But then again, if you have somebody who's too in the midst of too many issues, that's not a good example either. The best mentor is somebody who has had issues and has overcome them and can help encourage youth to do the same. Give a list of conversation starters to both mentors and mentees. You know, that was where the getting to know you questionnaire, which the mentor would have in front of them when they first started the online talking. It was sort of, oh, so your favorite movie is, I don't know, whatever, you know, or, oh, you like to do this. You know, typically a lot of times our youth, the reason they're out there is their social skills aren't all that great, you know? And so that was part of the goal here, was to encourage them on that. Now, it's really surprising to me, though, in our world of technology, even youth that their social skills are not that good in person, they're a lot better online, and they're more comfortable online. And I do believe that the practice online does help them sort of day to day a little bit, and it certainly helps with their writing skills, you know, so that's a good thing. Training for both parties in cultural diversity and awareness prior to match is helpful. That's what we did. And, you know, I really prepared more of the, you know, the mentors, of course, were more sophisticated than what our kids were. And we, just to tell you what kind of students we take. First of all, we're not court mandated, although we do have youth that could be on probation and have had their brushes with the law. We don't have any violent offenders. This is a group living situation. You know, I would say, to give you a sort of a composite of a typical student, none of ours are typical, but we tend to get a lot of learning disabled students who maybe weren't diagnosed in the public school system, so they were falling through the cracks. We do get students who need to get out of their natural environment because their home life simply isn't good. That's the beauty of being residential. We can get them out of that area and limit the distractions that they have. But we do get some youth who, when I talk about those social skills, they're not good problem solvers. If they were good problem solvers, we probably wouldn't have them. And so that is one of the things that we try to help them with. And so when we train the mentors, we said over and over again, okay, if they present you with a problem that they want help with that you think you're out of your league, then our site supervisor, he was the gentleman on the boat in the red jacket that kind of looked like Santa Claus every time I said that. I was like, look, there's Santa. All the mentors had his direct line numbers, so they could call either him or me and get help if they thought, I don't know, let's say, I haven't had this happen, but let's say I had a female that said, yeah, guess what, I've been hiding an eating disorder for whatever, and I'm, sharing that with you, and what do I do? That would be a little probably out of the mentor's league. That would be a situation, or cutting, or drug use we didn't know about, or anything like that. And we went over that in the training to begin with, just some possible scenarios. Anything that you think is a danger to the student or something that you feel uncomfortable with, let us know right off the bat. So, administrative monitoring of online relationship may be necessary. Okay, you saw our computer lab out there. We have pretty good firewalls and all the good stuff so the kids can't be getting into stuff that they can't. But it's amazing how smart they are when they want to get into something that you blocked them from. And we did not have any problems in our time doing this program, but in the past, just in our general academic setting, we have had some issues with junior little hackers that like to do stuff. So I would definitely recommend having a very good relationship with your IT department if you want to undertake something like this. Just as a logistical problem, out on the island, our internet can sometimes be sporadic. So you have to be very flexible. So when I said they did an hour of online mentoring a week, sometimes that had to be rescheduled because we'd get a storm and our internet would be down or whatever. So both mentors and mentees had to learn to be flexible about that. Once the relationship is established, the mentor might have tried to contact and they couldn't get through because our internet was down, and then our student would say, sorry, our internet was down, or we had to make a schedule change, which happens in our life out there sometimes. So, hi, I'm back again, and can we do our hour now? So, at the end of the whole program, both the students from the University of Chicago and our students filled out an after-action review. They actually, everybody found it positive. Nobody had really anything that negative to say about it. I mean, and we didn't find any problems. Now, we only did it the one semester. We kind of want to do it again. It's just that, and I think the gentleman in the back came up with a good point. Here's the thing, when you're trying out a new whatever, it takes a little while to get the bugs worked out of it and to get it set up. If you can, we're in the middle of Beaver Island recruiting right now. We start school on what, the 19th? The 25th of September. Okay, I'm sorry. We have orientation for our new students on the 19th. So between getting our new students signed up and then out there, and then a week of getting them oriented to campus and to their classes and over homesickness and all that other stuff that we do on our residential campus. In the meantime, the mentor program kind of, yep, we're doing it, but it got pushed a little further into the semester. So if you can have your planning done and your matches made fairly early on so you have actual time for the experience, it works out a lot better. I did bring a statement from one of our students. This is written by one of our students for our newsletter. This semester, Bills has decided to try something a little new and different. Students will be allowed to participate in an online mentoring program. The program will be the University of Illinois Graduate School, and the mentors' ages will vary as they are college students. How will these meetings go about? There will be an initial webcam meeting for starters, answered Justin, our history teacher, which some of them had this and some of them didn't, because we only had limited webcams. Then we will try to set it up to where the students will be able to email each other at least once a week, and we won't just have the mentors for academic questions and problems either. We are also encouraged to ask the college goers anything from questions about attending a university to what it feels like to be living on your own. What's great about this opportunity is we don't have to stop the mentoring when school ends. If a friendship is developed, we will be able to correspond with each other even when classes are out for the summer. And honestly, I should probably do a little research to see if anybody continued their, you know, our student population is constantly fluctuating, so the group of students that did this didn't necessarily come back to us the next semester. If a good friendship is developed, we will be able to correspond with each other even when classes are out for the summer. In turn, we could be creating a lifelong friend and person to look up to. And just how will these mentors be chosen? After all, you can't stick a proud hunter with somebody who is a member of the PETA community. Remember, this is written by a student. Steve will be giving us a survey that will help to match our interests and personalities with those who attend the university. And almost all classmates here on the island have nothing but positive things to say about the whole setup. I'm pretty pumped for it, says Morgan. It will give us a great chance to meet and talk to new people. The anticipation is building as we wait to be matched up, and hopefully it will be a great start to new friendships for all of us. So, you know, our students definitely had a buy-in, and this was actually before they had started. So that's our online mentoring program. Questions?
When you say some had webcams, so they were Skyping through
Right.
both voice.
Yes. You know,
Voice and
call me a little,
fun.
yeah, it is, call me a little paranoid. I had mixed feelings about that, just because there's, you know, you hear so many things about stalker people and everything. And so, but the couple that did it, we did not have any problems with it. And honestly, that visual probably does help with the social interaction. So. Anybody else? Any questions on Beaver Island?
Well, yeah, well, how many students? I guess maybe you said, what's the...
We can take 32, so usually we get about between 30 and 32. Usually we get 2/3 males and 1/3 females. We have 1 female cabin and 2 male cabins.
We run 2 semesters. We run a fall semester, which goes from middle of September till December. Then we're off for January and February because it's too cold, you can't get anything over there. So then
boat doesn't run.
the students are allowed 1 semester. If they do well, the teacher says, hey, this student is awesome, this is the best place for them, they're invited to come back for a spring semester, which starts late February and goes to May.
What is the cost per semester of a student like that?
Well, all the students that go to Beaver Island have to be WIA eligible. So we pay for the room and board. All that we ask of the parents or whomever, parent or guardian, is to get that student to Charlevoix to get them on the boat. So roughly...
And we take care of the boat and the plane.
Yeah.
Our funding comes from both WIA and state headcount money. We partner with Charlevoix Public Schools, so they are technically counted as a Charlevoix Public School student, and then Charlevoix turns the state headcount money back to us.
How do you derive your candidate pool for the school?
You know, that's funny you should ask that because I've been doing this for 13 years, and every year it's just different for me. What I do is I have such a close relationship with all my area high schools and courts, and I don't even have to advertise. I mean, every semester I get about 20, 25 kids that want to go. And in all honesty, what I do is I take a look at their credits. Whoever's got the most credits gets put on the top of the list, because our main goal is high school completion. We want these kids to move on.
Which they receive a diploma.
If they're close enough, yes.
Okay.
So those kids go to the top of the list. The next thing is, you know, some of these kids just need a different change of pace, a different environment. They need to just get out of where they're at. And we take a look at that. So, and you know, some semesters I've got a ton of kids that have high credits, and then others I have 17 students that have 2 credits. so it's really hard for me, and I feel really bad when I gotta turn somebody down.
The way our youth program is organized, we have, Dana's a youth advisor, she works for me. We have 3 youth advisors that cover the 10-county area. And basically, when they start their recruitment, they're each given a certain number of slots to fill for the island. And if they have more, then I bring them all together and they have to arm wrestle for Actually, we just did that last week. And it's a good problem to have more students than not, but it is very difficult when parents are waiting and they think it may be their last opportunity for their child to get their education. The beauty of it is that then if they don't make the cut for whatever reason to go to the island, then the youth advisor has already made the connection with them, and then we can hook them into our mainland services for high school completion or GED preparation or whatever we can help them with. So.
What did the students do during January and February?
They can do a lot of things. Sometimes I have them do online courses. We have Odysseyware that we can hook them into, so they're actually getting more credit while that time is off. Some of them decide that they don't want to go back for the spring semester. They have learned some things. They want to go back to the regular high school. And I'm talking in my area, most of my area high schools run on trimesters. So when they're done in December, right after the first of the year, they can go enroll in the local high school and get right back in.
Why do you only allow them 1 semester to be out?
Well, 2 things. Originally, Beaver Island, it's sort of morphed. Originally, it was a more camp-like area, and it was just meant for credit recovery, and it was never meant to graduate students, and not to begin with. Well, we've been around for almost 30 years now. We've morphed into a regular school, sort of with our partnership with Charlevoix. If they get a diploma through us, it says Charlevoix High School. With all of the standardized curriculum and graduation requirements and testing requirements, we've gotten ourselves into a little bit of a bind, because when they take the MME, and here's what happens. A lot of times the students we get have big gaps in their education. For instance, I just had a young lady apply that she hasn't been in public school since 8th grade, and she's now 17 or 18, okay? You get a lot of these kids that, I was homeschooled, except whatever they were doing at home really wasn't at school. So they have big gaps in their education, and they come to us, and then all of a sudden they're subjected to these state-mandated standardized tests. Because they're considered, because of our partnership with Charlevoix Public Schools, everybody that we test for that, their scores go back and affect Charlevoix's rating. Charlevoix's not too happy with that.
Yeah.
Because typically, because of the big gap in education, and we haven't had them that long, our students don't do very well. So part of the reason that we've gone back to limiting the time they can be there is that the test scores don't count if we haven't had them for very long. Okay, so the young lady that said she was there for 5 semesters, first of all, that's unusual. So that was 2.5 years. Usually we don't encourage a student to stay that long, but she was doing well there. She did not function well in her home school at all. But we've gone back to saying it's not supposed to be a 3-year experience. So a year is what we try to limit it to. Give them the skills so that they can, well, we can either graduate them or get them back into their home school. So, and just so you know, we had another, we are now considered a shared educational entity, which if any of you are educators and you want to know about that, that's so Port Charlevoix doesn't have to take everybody's scores. The sending districts all signed a cooperative agreement that if they send a student, because they were the ones that were responsible for educating them, when we test them, their scores go back to their sending district. But that was a whole heck of a lot of work. It's not a fun process. Other questions?
So is most of the online experience through email, or the Gmail accounts, or
yes, it was all online or Skype. Yes, it was all through Gmail.
So both combination of Skype and?
Yes, depending. Like I said, I think we only had 3 cameras, so not everybody could Skype, but we rotated it. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your attention.